11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think we're going to win it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Wearing black with white, also weighing in at 167.6 pounds. In his professional career, 54 victories, including 36 big wins by knockout, only one defeat with 2 draws, and he's undefeated for 6 years, and considered by many to be, pound for pound, the best in the world. He's the former 2-time light middleweight world champion, former middleweight world champion, former light heavyweight world champion, the reigning, defending super middleweight champion of the world, damas y caballeros de Guadalajara, Jalisco, México, representando al gran campeón, Saúl Canelo.
Saying it's all Crawford's fault, basically. That's what I said. It's not Spencer's fault. Oh, man. Look, how can I say this? Oh, definitely Al Heyman is behind it all, and the reason why a lot of these fights won't happen. You're right. You know, it's crazy. They don't think that's the case. Thanks to those joining me live and those that'll be joining me on the archive. DStyle here. Hit that bell button so you get notified every time DStyleBoxing comes on live. Subscribe if you like the content, and of course hit the like button if you're listening right now on the archive and those live as well. If you're watching on X, aka YouTube, you come on DStyleBoxing here on YouTube and check out and join the chat, all that good stuff. Shout out to Nando already in the chat. This shouldn't be a long one, but we'll see. I got to watch some of the mobility fight with Derenchenko a little bit, but not a lot. I had to work. I worked a lot of hours yesterday, so I didn't watch everything. And I already know the results, but I'll watch it like later, like either right before work today or sometime Monday. And I'll give more thoughts on that. We'll be doing a roundtable. HCP will be back, and we'll be talking about all that. Just an FYI. I've been wanting to talk about this specific topic for a little bit now. I heard that Bradley said that can make. He's gonna avoid mobility. Okay, I mean it's okay, whatever. Maybe he will. I don't know. But all I know is this: he's with Top Rank. They gotta hype it up somehow, right? But so much to touch on with this. One thing I notice is that every time a pay-per-view flops or doesn't succeed or numbers are really bad for a fight, people point it out, right, in different ways. And when it's pointed out, that an event lost money, when it's pointed out that an event didn't sell very well, when it's, people just point it out or it's reported, there's always fans, and it's usually fans of the fighter that was headlining that event, that have like this defense mechanism, and they come out and they say, well, what do you guys care? Well, What do you care if it sells or not? What are you making money in the event? What do you care? I just care about the fight. I just care about the event. That's all I care about. I'm not pocket watching. I'm not watching what these fights are making. That's not. I don't care about that. I don't care if I'm the only person watching. I don't care if there are a million people watching. All I care about the fight. Why do you guys care about this fight? Why do you care? Why do you care? Why do you care? And I'm like, okay, fair enough. I mean, it's a fair question, I guess, right? Um, when I was just asking questions about a lot of fights and fighters on Twitter, some people got mad at me because I said, "Well, why do you guys think like a Benavides, if he headlined the pay per view, can do over 100,000? Like why do you think that is?" And I wanted kind of people's thoughts on that. There was two types. There was three, the ones that understood my point and answered the question, right, with their opinion, like, "Oh, I think he hasn't been promoted right," or whatever. And then others, it was either, "Why are you protecting Canelo?" Right? It had nothing to do with Canelo. I was just genuinely asking. And the third person was "Why do you care? Why do you guys care what fighters sell or don't sell? And well, why does it matter? It doesn't even matter. I just care about the fights." Right? Um, fair enough. So Sam, you don't have the figures, brother. Like, it is what it is, brother. Like, you know what I mean? But with that said, like, look, I understand, like, to a degree, I understand the point, right? Like, if a fight's a great fight, it's a great fight. If it's a good fight, if it's a good boxing match, enjoy the fight and all that. I get it. If it's a good boxing card, sit back, enjoy it, eat your popcorn, make the most of it for what it is. I understand, right? But it does matter if an event attracts attention. It does matter, and I'm going to explain why, and why it matters, even if you're someone who doesn't even care about that stuff, and all you want is fights, right? Like, I'm going to come. It all comes full circle, all right? And I'll just read something I wrote on Twitter. This was a response to Luki Boxing. Shout out to him. In fact, let me share it. All right, we'll share the screen. Okay. So it's a response to Luki Boxing. He tweeted, "Just too many pay-per-views. Boxing competes against other forms of entertainment. With so many fees, it's hard to grow the sport." Right? And of course, you're going to have people, it doesn't matter, 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 right? Okay, cool. So let's go over it a little bit, okay? I said, very true. I agree. Many will say, "Why do you care? Just stream it or don't buy it if you don't like it." Blah, blah, blah. Which is why I care about the quote unquote business side of things. And I care if events are successful or not. Because everything comes full circle. Only pay-per-view stars should be on pay-per-view. Why do I care? Because when non-pay-per-view stars are on pay-per-view, you oversaturate the market, in this case, the pay-per-view market. When you oversaturate pay-per-views you decrease visibility to the sport. Less visibility to the sport means less interest in the sport. Less interest in the sport means less consumers. Less consumers means less money. Why is all that important? Why do I care? Because the sport becomes less popular. When the sport becomes less popular, less kids want to become boxers. If less people take up boxing, we have limited talent, watered down talent. Inferior athletes in sport means inferior product. Inferior product means less legitimacy. These are all problems the sport will face down the line if it's not already, unless we change something. All right? Well, I don't care. I don't care what Triple sells. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about business. I don't care. I don't care. Why do you care? Are you paying for it? Why do you care? When Spence Crawford happened, I couldn't go watch it at a bar because none of the bars had it. That the UFC event set. So when business is good, and by that I mean like the bars want it because they're going to get consumers to the bar and they're going to get attraction to it. That matters. Okay. I think there was maybe one or two that had it, but nonetheless, when less people are buying the fights, there's less money to pass around. There's less money to pass around in a sport like prize fighting, where the whole point is to make money. Then it gives it less of an incentive for anybody to pick up the sport. All right? Why are these guys even doing this to begin with? There's no guarantee a Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to be around forever, and even if he is, he only takes care of a small section of fighters, quite frankly. You know, so it all matters, because another reason it matters because it helps explain why a fight maybe didn't happen. All right? You could sit here all day and say, oh, no, that fight should have happened. He should have called him out because he was ranked this. Yeah, but was there a promoter at the time willing to pay for that fight? For what that ex-fighter wanted? No, okay, it doesn't matter, bro. Bud and his Lackey Shakur lucky to have Turkey, His Excellency. Turkey 100. Oh, damn. At the end of the day, it does matter if an event is important and relevant. We do have way too many pay-per-views. All right? Quite frankly, there's way too many. Only pay-per-view stars should be on pay-per-view. That's it. Right? And even pay-per-view stars should only be on pay-per-view for pay-per-view worthy fights. I don't think Berlanga should be on pay-per-view. Canelo Berlanga should be on the zone. Right? Just like the Kovalev fight was, just like the Kirkland fight was, just like other fights of Canelo's. I get we're in a different era. They don't do that anymore. I'm just making that point. All right. So if you have a paywall, as Serge is saying in the chat, and less people are willing to watch it, then you have less people there's less water cooler to talk about the sport. And when there's less water cooler to talk about the sport slowly and gradually over time starts to become less and less relevant. And one day you just turn around and you're like, man, all these people I used to know, they used to follow the sport, don't follow it anymore. And that's just what's happening right now, quite frankly. The sport has become less popular. We're putting it all behind a paywall. So all these great fighters, people don't get to watch them. Now you could say all day, oh, but they could stream. I've spoken about this, and I could say it a million times, but it's going to go in one ear out the other with a lot of people. But fight interest speaks to demand, okay? So when there's demand for a fight, meaning people want to watch it, two things are going to happen. A lot of people are going to buy it, and a lot of people, in fact, even more people, are going to steal it because people want that product, okay? So what I'm saying is this. When an event has an epic failure and it doesn't sell, I'm not saying nobody stole it, but it speaks to the interest of that fight, right? It speaks to how many people are actually interested in it. And the cold, hard reality is a lot of people don't even want to steal these fights or rather do something else on Saturday night. All right? That's just a reality. When a fight does under 100,000 buys, it's not because you can't just say, oh, it's because everybody stole it. Well, everyone steals everything. All right? Everyone steals the box office, the movies that smash it at the box office. Okay, everybody steals the successful pay-per-views. Everybody steals non-successful pay-per-view. Everybody steals NFL football more than any other sport in the U.S. Everybody steals soccer, Premier League, more than any other sport in the world. Yet they still make money. Yet they still have interest. They still have many paying customers. They still have a lot of subscribers for their apps. They still have a lot of support, right? Yet their business is still booming, which means it gives it a healthy future. You don't want a healthy future for the sport? If you love this sport, don't you want a healthy future for it? Are you so caught up trying to protect one fighter, trying to protect a couple of fighters that you personally like, that you're not looking at the well-being of the future of the sport for the kids right now, hitting those punching bags and speed bags and sparring and learning the craft right now in their teens, so they could have a future in the sport? Don't you care about that? And you could shock it out. There's always going to be a future. You could, sure, but what type of future? So we need to understand this, man. You know that saying, strong men create, or bad times create strong men create, good times create weak men, and the cycle continues. This sport was built over the year by legends that put their blood, sweat, and tears into this damn sport, right? To the point where fighters today have a dude that's a lifelong boxing fan, right? When you hear Turkey, he talks about Duran. He talks about, the Lennox Lewises of the world. He talks about all these boxing legends. He's a lifelong boxing fan. And that's why he's investing in boxing in the first place, because he wants to see boxing return to those days, he says, right? Longing for it. Well, Turkey himself is saying this time ain't shit. We got to get it back to what it was then. And right now, fighters are reaping the benefits of what legends created. But my question is, these current fighters of today, what are they leaving for the next generation? What is the business of boxing leaving the next generation here? What are they leaving behind? Yeah, I'm glad a lot of them are filling up their bank accounts. Very small percentage of them, by the way. But what does that mean for the future of the sport? And that's why it matters. Don't you want to, if you're planning to be alive 10 years from now, don't you want some fights on TV? Don't you want great fighters? Don't you want you need little kids to watch it and to be inspired and to say, I want to do that. You need little kids to be inspired to, and you need a good quantity of them. So a good percentage of them could be great athletes, and you want great athletes in a sport. Do you want inferior athletes in a sport? Everything comes full circle. Everything. So the only reason it matters, if I say, yo, man, those papers are not selling, maybe it should have been on pay-per-view. Maybe that guy shouldn't be on pay-per-view. In order to maximize his visibility in the sport, you need to get him off pay-per-view. Right? That's not a knock. That's true. And it's not me thinking it. It's the market saying it. The market's saying, you can't crack over 200,000 buys. You shouldn't be on pay-per-view, bro. It's just what it is. If you can't crack over 200,000 buys, and if it doesn't justify your purse, all you're doing, right, is being a liability for the most part as far as the business side of boxing. Calix and I have been talking about this for like almost 3-4 years in nauseum, and even longer than that. We go all the way back to the HBO days, saying these inflated purses are not healthy for the sport. And everyone just has a very narrow mind. Oh no, I'm pro fighter. So for me, I'm all for the fighter and if for them to get their bag. And I've always said I never get mad at the fighters for getting the bag. However, we need to point out when inflated, because inflated purses do hurt the sport, right? Like they do. You're paying somebody a certain amount, right? Millions to fight a bunch of nobodies, guys we don't even know, right? Let's say good fighters, but fighters that are not like A level. What do you think is going to happen when you want them to take a risk against a real challenge, right? Because we have created a safety first culture. Now, that's always existed to a certain degree in boxing, right? You always want to go towards the direction that's going to be better business for you, right? But we're starting to incentivize going the least path of least resistance. That's what we're starting to do. So, like to me, like as fans, yes, we need to demand the best fights, and they need to give us the fights that we want. And the market will tell you if they're giving people what they want. Don't fall for the okie doke that, oh no, that was a great fight, but the fans didn't buy it, right? No, the reality is this, all right? If it doesn't belong on pay-per-view, it doesn't mean it's not a good fight. It just means that the market has decided that people don't want to buy that fight. And you need to act accordingly. Now, if you need to put on pay-per-view because fighters are demanding certain purses, I get it, but that's my point. Like, that's the problem, right? So pointing out, yo, like this dude is demanding X amount of money. He's contributing to a problem that is oversaturating the pay-per-view market, right? And he's kind of holding the sport hostage in a sense because he's demanding a certain purse that is putting promoters and networks or et cetera, apps in a position where they need to put these fights on pay-per-view. Like it's all a revolving door. It's all a problem that's occurring in the sport right now, right? And it's hurting like the sport. It's hurting the popularity of the sport. It just is. I remember watching random Friday night fights, right, on Friday, no star on the card, and I would see crowds of 4,000 or 5,000 in some hangar, right? Now, like you have world champions on cards, and it's like you see empty seats everywhere. I know I'm not the only one. I'm not the only boxing fan that has. I used to be able to count my boxing friends on two hands. I could barely count them on one hand. And most of the friends I have that watch boxing, right? Aside from family members that still watch it, but them aside, and even them to a degree are watching it less, but are very casual. Like they only watch a certain like small percent. They didn't watch Mobility yesterday. They probably watched the Adesanya fight. If I'm honest with you, they probably watched that. They probably watched the UFC last night. And I just think there's way too many fans in denial, but being in denial is not going to solve this problem. Now, granted, we could only do so much. So we're just spectators, right? We are speaking. The market does speak. That fight didn't sell, shouldn't be on pay-per-view. This dude didn't sound like that. He shouldn't be getting paid that. The market is saying that to the sport, to the fighters, to the brokers, to the promoters, to the networks. The market is saying that, right? Even to Canelo. Oh, what about Canelo? What about Canelo? Even though I have said it, I keep saying it, but it doesn't matter because I could say it a million times. People still say it to me as if I don't say it, but whatever, right? Even Canelo, like if he wants a guarantee of an X amount, well, the market is saying you're not worth that guarantee, bro. It applies to everybody. It applies to everyone, right? At the end of the day, we need to be able to accept reality. and be brought down. Okay, shout out to Chicano. We do need to accept these realities, right? We have channels on here that refer to Haney as a pay-per-view star. Why? Because he's on pay-per-view? So why is Haney a pay-per-view star if he don't sell shit? Could have cracked 200,000 with Lomachenko. Like, I heard a channel on here say, like, Loma's only been on pay-per-view one time, and that was with Haney. And people want to say Haney's not a star. Look, bro, Haney's not a pay-per-view star. Look, I don't give a fuck what anybody says. All right? That's why he wanted to fight Ryan. That's why he cherry-picked Ryan. The cherry-pick that went wrong because he wanted to sell pay-per-views. All right? We have too many people living in flat-out denial. Now, should Canelo be on pay-per-view? Well, Canelo still does over 500,000. Those are good numbers, bro. People forget, like, Roy Jones, John Ruiz did like 500,000 or some shit. Like, it's a lot of De La Hoya's fights have did around that amount. I think the Chavez fight did around that amount. It's not, it's people act like it's not good business and whatever, but he should be on pay-per-view because he sells pay-per-view. Like now, if you want to argue, he needs to readjust his percentages, and that's another story. All right. Shout out to True Media Boxing Radio, new member. Hey, I appreciate it, brother. All right. Join DStyleBoxing and membership. He's now a dragon. You know what I mean? The coach is already spitting fire. And now he's got dragon fire. You know what I mean? So there you go. Shout out to him. But he's not a star. Just being on pay-per-view doesn't make you a pay-per-view star. Oh, Canelo not a pay-per-view star. He's only sold, I think, look, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 fights, unless I'm missing one, that did over 1 million, right? Oh, he's not a star like De La Hoya was. De La Hoya only had like 4 fights to over 1 million. Trinidad, Hopkins, Mayweather, and Pacquiao. None of his other fights had over 1 million. Everybody, we were so spoiled during that Pacquiao Mayweather run where they were both doing over 1 million that people think that's like a normal thing. People think that's like the norm, right? But that's when boxing was the idea of that fight was making boxing hot, right? And I knew a lot more people, I could count them in 2 hands, that were more into the sport at that time. Pacquiao Mayweather fought, and a bunch of people said, "Fuck this sport." That's just the truth, bro. Like a lot of boxing fans don't want to admit that reality, bro. I don't know why. I don't know. Look, I love the sport too, right? And I do everything I can to talk about the fights, and that's why I do HCP. I mean, Kelly talk about all the fights that we can, and that's why I do the round table. We talk about the fights and all that, right? I'm doing my part as a boxing fan to try to put as much visibility to the sport on social media, interviewing fighters, getting their stories out. Like, I'm doing my part. I buy the fights. I do not steal these fights. I buy them, all of them. The Turkey Al-Sheikh fights, I buy them. Canelo fights, I buy them. I'm going to buy the Berlanga fight. I'm not going to buy the UFC fight because I support the sport, right? Like, it just is what it is, right? And I feel like I need to watch these fights to talk about them, right? Because I get memberships and super chats and stuff, so I feel like there's some obligation there. But at the end of the day, not to mention sponsoring some fighters and giving them money so they can, travel, pay hotel, or whatever it is that they need, for their expenses, and all that goes to a good cause. Okay, I don't pocket the money from the channel. I have my job for that. I have a full-time job where that's what that's for, right? So I'm doing my part. So I don't want anybody coming to me and saying, "Oh, well, why are you dragging the sport down?" What I'm not going to do is lie. I'm not going to call dudes pay-per-view stars that aren't pay-per-view stars. I was on a Boxing Voice one time, and I said, at the time, because at the time, Tank was just doing like 250,000. And they were calling him a star. And I'm like, he's not a pay-per-view star, bro. Pay-per-view stars don't do 250,000. You know, like he's on pay-per-view, but he's not a pay-per-view star. And now this Frank Martin fight did okay, but it didn't do even Ryan, like his numbers with Haney weren't all that either. So if Canelo would have done those numbers, people would have shit all over it. Well, what I'm saying is, we need to be realistic, and people, you fan, need to stop caping, stop capping, right, for these fighters and getting defensive and angry when it's pointed out that they're not stars, when it's the truth. Just because it hurts your feelings, it doesn't mean it's not true. If a dude can't crack a certain amount, hey, the market has spoken. It is what it is. We're not going to fix the problem if we can't, call out what's out there. And another thing I want to talk about, I think this is very, very important. Don't get it twisted. And for some reason, and I know this from experience, because I used to be one of them, right? Entertainment is important to the sport of boxing like it is to any other sport, right? People watch sports for entertainment, right? That's why they exist, right? Why did they do the gladiators and all that back in the Roman Colosseum? For entertainment, all right? That's why they do it. Why do you go to a concert? Do you go to a rock concert? Let's just be honest. Do you go to a rock concert to admire the artistic value that the band brings? I'm not saying you don't admire the artistic value, but you go to a concert, a rock concert, rap concert, whatever, a pop artist, whatever. You go to be entertained. You go so you can drink a beer, so you can sing along, sing your favorite songs, and the whole point is for the crowd to sing along and go crazy, and yay, and pop, and woo, and all that. That's why you go to a concert. That's why people want to go to boxing matches, to be entertained. So don't let anybody tell you, I don't care if I'm going to do it in the arena. I'm going to enjoy the artistic. What do you mean? Like, stop being stupid. All right? Entertainment is part of the sport. Now, granted, I said part of it. A very important, intricate part of the sport. I just want to remind you. We have fans out here acting like this entertainment is not part of the sport. Mike Biggs Boxing, how's it going, brother? Teach, how's it going? ASIC 101. People have been coming in. Chicano Prophet, how you doing? Nando Yama, I believe I said it. What's up to you? Andre Rodriguez, Puro Sur. If I missed anybody, I apologize. I'm trying to get this out before I get ready for work. But thank you guys for tuning in. Anybody watching, right? Even if you're like hating on me while you watch, you know what I mean? It's all good. You know what I mean? Hit the thumbs down. You know what I mean? Like it is what it is. If you hit the thumbs up, nobody knows you liked it. I'm just saying. You don't have to tell your friend you liked the video. It's all good. But what I'm saying is this. So look, we have fans, right, that are so protective of some of the fighters they like, and they get very angry when certain fighters they like get called boring, and they get very defensive of it. They even accuse people being things that, like one of the most common reactions I see to a fighter getting called boring, especially that fighter's black, is they get called racist. Oh, you feel that way because you're racist. So I'm not saying that no one out there exists that just calls every black fighter racist. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't exist. There's racism out there and it does exist, right? However, you notice how nobody calls Tank Davis boring? Honest to God, I've never heard anybody call Tank Davis boring. I've heard people criticize Tank. I've heard people say all types of shit about Tank. I never once heard anybody call him boring. I never seen anybody walk out of a Tank Davis fight. I never seen it. It's round 10 and they're walking out to beat traffic. I never seen it. Right? Maybe people just find him boring. Like, maybe it's just that. Maybe you just take it for face value. Maybe the people walking out of a fight is just a reality. Like, maybe it's just happening, right? It's just I'm just saying, like just take it for face value. Shaming people into not saying it is not going to resolve anything, because if people are saying, "Hey, man, it's kind of that Shakur fought kind of boring. He wasn't throwing enough punches," and then Bud Crawford's in the back telling him the same thing. His trainer's telling him the same thing. Even Andre Ward told him this. Then what do you want? If there's constant holding from a fighter, and people don't like watching that, because it's constantly resetting the fight, hold, clench, 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 right? And they find it boring and they point it out, but they don't like it. Oh, you're just saying that because you're racist. It's not going to resolve anything. Because plenty of people didn't like the Klitschko, well, especially Vladimir Klitschko when he did it, right? Vladimir Klitschko is white as rice, and people didn't like it, right? There's people that don't like the way Sandor Martin fights. There's people that find Bivol boring. I've literally heard people say, "Oh yeah, they never call Bivol boring." I don't know. Like, if maybe you need to get out of your circles. Maybe you need to get out of your bubbles and you need to get out of your echo chambers. Because I've seen plenty of people call Bivol boring. Just put Bivol and boring on Twitter and go scroll down. You're going to see people calling him boring. All right. When people are entertained by something, okay, if something entertains them, even the biggest racists are not going to call them boring. All right. I knew a racist mother. I knew a dude that was racist as fuck. Right. And his favorite artists were black. And his favorite actors were black. Right. Because he found them entertaining. So that's actually not a good thing to say. Maybe when someone calls somebody boring, they just mean it. I was hearing a space the other day. There was this dude crying, bro. I couldn't believe it. 15 minutes straight. Just I can't believe the hate that Haney and Shakur get. I just can't believe it. They're always clowning them. They're always doing this. They're always calling them boring. Oh, they're just guilty of fighting. That's all they've done. Dude sounded like that chick that was defending Britney Spears, bro. Oh, Britney. Leave Britney alone. That's what he sounded like. Flying over 2 millionaires, bro. Two dudes making 2, 3, 4 million a fight, like crying and bitching and moaning. Like, god damn, just because people were walking out of the fight because they called them boring. And let me remind you that those were Shakur's people. And by people, his people, I mean his hometown. His hometown was walking out on him. And then like, oh, ESPN is dirty for showing. Why? Because it's real? That's what happened? Entertainment is part of the sport. Like that's just the way it is. Like, every Mexican I know found Sergio Mora boring. Remember Sergio Mora stunk up that fucking Shane Mosley fight? Remember that? That wasn't Mosley's fault. That was Mora. There are fighters that are not considered entertaining in large part by the public, right? Don't get all angry if you find them entertaining. Okay, that's cool. Good for you, right? Some people hate the opera. Maybe you love it. It's whatever, right? So some people like rock music, some don't. But what I could tell you is this, right? Is that boxing, people watch it to be entertained. And if a vast majority of people don't find it entertaining, right? And walk away from the arena or click on that button, right? And stop watching the sport because they're not finding the fights they're watching entertaining, then then there's going to be some repercussions that the sport's going to suffer from that. That's just a reality. If you need to tell people to appreciate something, even if it's boring, and try to convince them why they should appreciate it, maybe it's not that entertaining. Let's go over a couple of things, right? One more point I want to make is I do got to get going. Before, like at the top of the hour, I got to go. All right. A lot of you are making great points, and I appreciate it. Like Teach, I'm glad he brought in Marquez because he was calling Shakur boring, right? A lot of the same people that were calling him a legend and because he was criticizing Canelo, right? When Marquez criticizes Canelo, they can't get enough of Marquez. Marquez is a real Mexican legend, not like the fraud Canelo. And you have this real Mexican telling that fraud, right? Because he's a legend, right? Oh, man, as soon as he said Shakur was boring, oh, man, all of a sudden he's a fraud. He never liked that style. Oh, yeah, because he can't beat that style. That's why he didn't like him. He's a fraud. He's this. He's that. Like, okay, whatever. Like, I'm just saying, bro. And a lot of you dudes that like to criticize Canelo because it gets you certain type of support, just remember that they're not really supporting you. They're supporting what you're criticizing. All right? Here's the thing. I saw an interview by Andre Ward. This interview was a while back. And he said, I always talk to these fighters, man. I always talk to these fighters and I always tell them, like, you got to look after you and stop, like, worrying about the fans and giving them good fights and taking some and all that because, you don't want to end up damaged. It's hit and not get hit. So I talk to these fighters. I see some of them training, and I'm paraphrasing, by the way, but I see some of them training, and it's almost like they're training to purposely get hit. And look, bro, I've interviewed a good amount of boxing trainers. I've talked to some of them. I'm not saying that doesn't. I'm not saying he didn't see this, but is that really a problem? Like, I don't know of one train. I swear to God, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know of one boxing trainer who is teaching his fighters to get hit on purpose to give good fights. I don't. Like, how do you even do that? Like. Okay, so we're gonna do it instead of jab, jab, cross. You're gonna get hit, cross. Okay, you ready? Like it's. I don't. Maybe he meant they're not teaching the fundamentals right, but I don't know. Just the way he said it made it seem like they're starting to steer the sport in the wrong direction by focusing on excitement but in reality that's not happening in gyms. Like I don't know of one boxing trainer like teaching. Like I just don't know of that, right? I just don't. Every training thing I see is they're sparring and then they get feedback on what to do. Hey, make sure you slip the spine. Like even Robert Garcia fighters, they're bobbing, they're weaving, they got a nice tie guard up. And you could say, oh, Robert Garcia fighters are offensive minded. They got no defense. Yet if you look at the numbers, they're getting hit relatively at around the same percentage of almost all fighters. So when you really look at the numbers, it speaks volumes, and you see a lot of what you know, think you know, is all bullshit if you go by the numbers. You don't necessarily need to be slick and slipping and and making guys miss in like you're the Matrix or something in order to be defensive. You can have a tight guard up and catch shots and counter that way, or roll shots and that's defense too, right? When Tank was throwing the uppercut and Tyson Cruz, Isaac Cruz was blocking it, right? He was doing a beautiful job blocking it, and then Tank hurt his wrists throwing that uppercut, and then they came up with this bullshit that he only had one hand in the fight. Yeah, because you fucked it up on the guard of Cruz, but that's defense. But Cruz is not known as a defensive fighter, so no one's going to give him credit for the defense, right? People think moving backwards and running away is defense. Like they think if you avoid engagement, that's automatically defense. No, that's avoiding engagement. Staying away from the pocket isn't defense. That's staying away from the actual action. That's what that is. Defense is slipping, blocking, right? Rolling. Yes, missing. Yes, at times stepping back, but stepping back in. So my point is, if this whole notion that let me put it this way. Let me backtrack a little bit. Let me just backtrack a little bit. I think people are overthinking this whole thing. I think people need to distinguish avoiding engagement with defense. That's number one. I think people need to distinguish those two things. If you're away from your opponent, right, where not even you are at range to hit them, right, and you're circling the ring, to me, it's my opinion, that's not defense. All right? That's you staying away from your opponent. That's what that is. And to circle back to the entertainment value. Look, we all know that the sport is dangerous. It's a very dangerous sport. You can get knocked out. We saw Venal Lopez had a brain bleed. Hopefully he'll be all right. We've seen fighters put in comas. We've seen fighters die. Okay? We all understand that this is a very, very dangerous sport. So I know that on the surface, from an aspect of morality, somebody might say, well, the message is a good one. He's telling fighters to not take too much damage and just do, hit and not get hit, right? That's the advice that Andre Ward was giving all these fighters. You hit them and you don't get hit back. That's the name of the game, so you could leave the sport healthy. So what Ward is trying to emphasize is that he cares about the health of the fighters, right? What about the health of the guy getting hit? What about that guy? You can't escape the brutality of the sport, right? Even if one guy is being picture perfect with defense and not getting hit at all, and he's making his opponent pay, that opponent is taking a beating with 12 rounds, right? That opponent can get knocked out. That opponent can suffer a brain bleed. That opponent can end up in a coma. That opponent can, the same risk still apply. If not, it's a bigger risk because most deaths that occur in boxing, right, are rehydration, right, and mismatches. So that's just the reality of it. We've heard Timothy Bradley say, "Oh, you can't go in there and just take these big shots, and then you got to like." So I don't blame guys if they're overly defensive. Here's the deal. As brutal as it may sound, in my opinion, judging fights, we should have a way to judge to where the person taking the bigger risk should be rewarded more for taking those risks, right? The guy doing the more difficult things, because it's more difficult to stand in the pocket, make a guy miss, make a guy pay versus staying away from them, versus clinching them, right? Oh, clinching is good. You do. I heard people tell me clinching is good because it protects you. Why are you going to be stupid and get hit when you can just clinch them and stop their offense, and then they got to reset them again, right? Look, from a fighter's point of view, I get it, right? However, from a sporting point of view, if hypothetically, let's say there's two fighters, let's say me versus Chicano, I'm fighting on the outside, right? Chicano wants to get on the inside. That's what he wants to do. I'm popping him with jabs, straight, boom, bam. I'm landing flush, right? So I'm landing damage on him. And then when he finally gets on the inside, I hold immediately. And Chicano, he's still trying to work in there, but the ref says, stop, stop, stop. And then the ref breaks it up, right? And then we start all over again. And I go back to throwing, like, landing straights on him. Boom, jab, pa, pa. He's taking damage, remember. He finally gets on the inside. He finally cuts off the ring. He's ready to, throw some bombs on the inside, all that good stuff. I grab him, and then the ref immediately, stop, 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 stop. And he breaks it up. He puts his back in the center of the ring. Right? Well, my fans are going to say, oh, that was smart. And let's say somebody complains. Let's say Teach complains. Fucking DStyle, all he was doing was holding. That shit's boring, bro. I don't want to see that shit. They kept resetting the fight, and then he just jabbing, cross, jab, hold, and it's fucking. It was a boring ass fight. Half of the crowd was walking out, right? And then Daniel Engu, who's in the chat, tells Teach, no, I care about the fighter's health. Right? So like if DStyle was holding, it's for his health. Well, why would DStyle fight him on the inside and get hit with shots? You think DStyle's boring or what? I mean, you think he's stupid? Why would he take damage for no reason? Like you need to understand, right, that this is hit and not get hit. Right? So DStyle's hitting and he's holding him to nullify him so they can restart the action. That's what he's doing. It's smart. Right? Now, was damage? Because I understand people that do those things, they want to appear as like they want to give the appearance that they're morally superior to everybody, right? They want to give the appearance that that they care about the health and well-being of these fighters and all that, right? Give me a second, guys. My bad. For some reason, I kept getting these spam calls. I don't know what the fuck it was, but here's the reality. All right, we need to understand this. Somebody like Chicano still got damaged. A dude still got jabbed in the face and hit with a bunch of right hands, which isn't healthy, right? The whole sport isn't healthy. The whole thing is not healthy, right? Somebody gets jabbed in the face and hit with right hands and taking 200-300 punches in a fight isn't healthy. So for all I care about the health. So I don't care if they hold and if it's boring because it's smart. It's hit and I get hit. And I don't want these fighters to take damage. But somebody did take damage. Chicano took damage. Like somebody still took, and it was one-sided damage. Like I was allowed to bend the rules and break the rules, right? To not allow him to hit me back. And then I was hitting him. And then within the rules, when he was ready to hit me back, I broke the rules by holding. And he wasn't allowed to hit me back. But somehow somebody wants to turn this into some morality thing. Right? So it's like this to me, man. You want to move around? That's cool. Then we need to do something about this holding, then. The way I see it. We need to do something about the constant resetting of the action. Because if the argument is, oh, you just want action because you want these fighters to take damage. Motherfucker, you're watching boxing. You're not watching tennis. Don't you understand? You're watching the sport of boxing here. That's what you're watching. Someone's going to take damage. If a fighter's allowed to fight negative and he's the only one doing damage, someone's still taking damage. If a fighter's allowed to constantly hold and nullify the offense of his opponent, there's still damage being done to the other fighter. Someone is taking damage. Okay? You know what it is? You don't want your fighter to take damage. That's really what it is. Okay, for all the high and mighty, morally superior people out there. That's what it is. Now, if he's doing it within the confines of engagement, meaning he's in the pocket, he's rolling shots, he's countering, he's not resetting the action, he's not constantly holding, he's catching shots, countering them. Like, okay. Like, yes, it's a one-sided fight, but he's not breaking the rules to do it. Right? So like that's just, I just wanted to put that out there. That all this whole like, I'm morally superior because you guys want exciting fights because you want their blood and you want these guys to be stuttering at the end of their career. You don't want them to be the same anymore, and you just want them to get knocked out. No. What it is that you want the fighter you like to be the only one knocking people out. You want the fighter you like being the only one landing punches. You only want the fighter you like landing damage. You're still like I don't know, man. It seems to me like you like torture. I like a fight. It seems to me like you like torture. You love the idea of a guy nullifying the offense of a guy by holding, which is an infraction. You shouldn't be doing it, right? You love that. You love it. Like you just love it because he's not allowing his opponent to hit him. You love that. Okay? Oh, you just want him to stand there and trade because you want to see him lose. What does that even mean? Okay, you want him to run around the ring because you don't want him to get beat up. Like, so I'll leave you with this. So, and I've always done this analogy, so whoever hasn't heard it, I'll say it one more time because I do got to get going, actually. I gotta get going. You're going to Walmart. You and your girl. Right? Every single man watching right now, I want you to picture yourself with your woman at Walmart. You get off of out of your car, right? You're holding hands. You're walking towards Walmart. Dude slaps your girl's ass. You get angry. Motherfucker. Babe, I'm going to defend your honor. Roll up your sleeves. Motherfucker. Put them up, right? And then you start to run around the parking lot. When a guy gets close to you, you run away from him. And then you get close to him and you slap him and then you get away from him. And you get close, bam, you slap him, you get away from him. And he can't catch you. You know what I mean? You're elusive and you go between two vehicles, you go under a truck, and you know what I mean? He can't catch you. The guy is like frustrated. He's like, I don't want to fight. And he goes like this and he walks away. Are you going to walk up to a girl and say, hey, baby, see how I defended your honor? Oh, no, but boxing is different. Boxing's not fighting. Y'all are losing the sauce, bro. Like, I'm just saying, like, you're losing it. Like, you're losing the whole point. Right? Yeah, like, you're losing it. All right? So, the origins of the sport was a fist fight, and who's the last man standing in that fist fight? That's the origins of the sport, and the scoring should go towards that. Because people can tell me all day, oh, look at the definition of boxing. I go, what are you talking about? Like, I know the history of the sport. I know the origins of the sport. Right? And I know what most fans want. They want to fight. They want engagement. It doesn't mean trade. It doesn't mean rock'em sock'em. It means that you're in the line of fire, in the pocket, and fighting. That's what that means. Right? At the end, that's what people want. So spare me your superior morality of like, oh, because you just want to see this. Yeah, like, okay, I broke all that down. But I do got to get going, though. I'm fucking late. But I was good, guys. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. This is DStyleBoxing. Keep it boxing them out. Peace.